spilt on my shirt this morning at breakfast.
Yeah, well, probably won't be the first time.
What do you want to talk about? Should have some direction in mind.
Yeah.
Or else this really will be Rectory Ramblings.
Hello, brothers and sisters in Christ. If you've tuned in the last 2 days, you know how unpredictable this might be. Today, we have in the first reading Moses standing up for God's people. They've come to the foot of the mountain. Moses is up on the hill and they've created the golden calf, and God is deciding what to do with them after they've worshipped it instead of worshipped God. And God kind of disowns them in some ways.
Yeah.
He tells Moses, take your people, but Moses stands up and says that it would be good for God's reputation to continue to care for his people. And we know in hindsight that God never intended to destroy his people, but to test Moses to see if he would stand up and be the leader that God was calling him to be.
Yeah, it's almost like the Lord in the beginning was like, yeah, take your people that you led out of the land of Egypt. Like, you forgot that I helped you get out of the land of Egypt. Just pointing back to himself, that he was the source of their freedom from slavery, and it wasn't by their own doing.
But that is kind of what the people believed. I mean, they created the golden calf. I mean, they, in some ways, by their actions, show that they believe that they had done all these amazing things on their own. And that's so true of us, too, that often we think that we do great things on our own and not with the help of God.
Yeah, you see in the gospel something a little bit similar. God points out the fact that the people are more quick to seek each other's approval rather than to seek his approval.
Just that the people looking to themselves or looking to each other instead of to God. Like
right.
in the first reading, that they somehow let each other out of Egypt, or, you know, they were looking to this golden calf or whatever and not to God. That somehow they did all these amazing things on their own. And here in the gospel, Jesus talks about them praising each other and not looking to praise God.
I was trying to seek Father Vogel's approval, and I tore apart his dishwasher in attempts to fix it, and I'm not quite sure that it'll get back together the right way.
So a shout out to Father Jason Kern. We apologize. I don't think your dishwasher that you bought is ever going to come back together. So
I'm hopeful still at this point because we haven't attempted yet, but
I'm not. I think if other people saw what's spread out across the kitchen counter, I don't think they would be very hopeful either. I guess as Christian people, we should be hopeful people. So maybe.
I've learned my lesson. I will try to seek the approval of God and not Father Vogel from here on out, and hopefully we'll avoid further confusion.
And just to, as you continue these days, some of you are trying to work from home, some of you are now suddenly homeschool teachers, trying to balance all of that. How do we continue to be like Moses, to stand up for God, to not set aside things of faith, especially as our masses are canceled, but to be like Moses, to stand between our loved ones and God, to continue to turn to God and not to each other or to other things, but to continue to put in our time, our prayer, even in the midst of this chaos.
When we're thrown into new positions of leadership, like Father mentioned, maybe becoming a homeschool teacher for the first time ever, I think it's certainly in our human nature to seek the approval of those that we are in front of, and just to remember that you may not always get the approval of those around them, but just always be seeking the approval of God and trying to follow the best you can how he thinks that you should be directing or spending your time or approaching that new task in your life.
Thank you guys so much for listening. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless.
God bless. Bye. All right, I think that went good. We're getting there.
And you had some tie into the gospel, I believe.
Yeah, taking intermission so I can remember what that is, though. I was paying attention, I swear.